Hello, horse racing fans. Welcome to another episode of The Inside Post. This week, we have our Breeders' Cup Horse Racing Championships at the Great Santa Anita in California. So, we will be handicapping this early Friday card for the Breeders' Cup Juveniles. So, these young 2-year-olds take to the track first on Superstar Friday for us at Santa Anita. We will be giving you our top pick, one second time contender, and our long shot bet for you on Friday. Kicking things off, we have race 5 on the turf, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile turf. This will be a turf sprint for those 2-year-olds. Looking at our top pick, we have Crimson Advocate. This is one of the horses that obviously from the States shipped over to Royal Ascot for the Queen Mary. Won there and then is coming back in here to the home turf. Interesting enough, this horse really never broke its maiden. Finished third, was beaten out by Brightwork first time out, and then goes into a $100,000 stakes race, and then decides let's go over to Royal Ascot and puts away some of the, the European contingents in there. Probably won't be 4-1. Horse is probably going to look at second, maybe third choice in here. I don't think this horse will be the top pick. There's some other pretty good contingents in here, especially on the turf. A lot of the Euro horses get a lot of this attention. Second option in here is going to be Big Evs or Big Eves for Michael Appleby, getting Tom McQuand aboard. In here, this one is a Euro shipper. Like most times, some of these past performances are kind of up in the air on how we're reading them. Basically, the grade stakes race, this race rating is a lot of things that we look at, comparing it to some of these other American horses. 119 being the big race that this horses came out of, or 117 of the race rating. Has ran on the 5 furlongs. Usually these horses come over. We don't see them as much of a sprinter as much as we do on the route races. Going a mile or further is usually where the Europeans are really strong at. So interesting to see this horse get 3-1 currently. Like I said, winner last time out. Grade 2 does have another grade 3. Looks like a couple of them in Great Britain on Doncaster and Goodwood. So interesting horse looks to have some speed, going 5 furlongs at 59, winning in its last race. Back in September. So that's going to be our second pick. We're going to use one of these Euro shippers in this race early, just because it seems like the right play to do. Third option, we got Cherry Blossom for Ryan Moore and Aiden O'Brien. You will see this connection happening a lot throughout the weekend. Fourth in the Judemont. Grade 1 last time out, beating out by Porta Fortuna. That horse looks really good in another spot later on in the card, and also second in the past 2 starts other than the grade 1. So again, horse really has been running 6 furlongs. Notice the horse looks to be kind of iffy on the good side of the turf. Looks to be better on maybe a softer yielding. So interesting to see what type of turf we're going to get. We're probably going to get good fast, knowing Santa Anita's turf course. So interesting enough, the connections are obviously the checkbox for this horse in here. Obviously, kind of that no nay never sire with the Scat Daddy has been performing well. So definitely one that could be at a big price of 12-1. And then our long shot pick, kind of like this horse, Give Me the Beat Boys, for Jessica Harrington and Shane Foley. Kind of coming out of some of those similar races of Cherry Blossom. This horse is a little bit better price at 15-1. Still was hitting the board for third, fourth, and then had 2 wins early on in its career. So kind of a heavier raced 2-year-old, but a lot of the Euros you'll see them with 2 to 5 races under their belts, unlike some of the American contingents that usually only have like 3 or 4. Very deep field, or a pretty good capping race for race 5. I mean, you have no name Mets with Irad and George Weaver, another pretty good horse in here this winner of his last two. Another one to possible consider if you're on a deep ticket amidst waves with George Weaver and Flavion Pratt is interesting. Second last time out in the Indian summer at Keeneland, and then 3 straight wins right off the bat out of that. Valiant Force with William Buick and Adrian Murray looked pretty stout. We just went with the other 2 contingents, just coming out of some bigger races, um, and have a little bit better form currently coming in to this race. Next up, we will go on the stretch out, going a mile and a 16th for these these juvenile fillies. Again, young 2-year-old fillies coming in looking to set themselves up for a bright future. Probably the one single for the Friday card would be this 7-horse Tamara, the Spol Diora 2-year-old filly for Richard Mendel and Spendthrift Farm will get Mike Smith aboard her yet again for the 3rd race of her career, and has done it in great fashion. Broke her maiden with Mike Smith at Del Mar, comes back to the Del Mar Derby and blows the competition away, I believe, by like 6 3/4 lengths in there. Posted a huge 100 speed figure, went 7 furlongs and 122. So looks to be like the next big filly that's coming into horse racing, that's coming into herself, getting ready to shape up her 3-year-old season. Probably will be our lock of the weekend, or possibly even our single for the Friday card. If you want to try to beat her, Candied looks pretty good on the inside. Todd Pletcher and Luis Saez, another undefeated 2-year-old. This one is out of Candy Ride, owned by Eclipse Thoroughbreds. So if you try to beat her, Candy looks to be the one that's coming into herself as well on the improvement. Ran a mile in the 16th last time out, so that really looks really good in that Alcibiada. Grade 1 in there, beating out Vivi's Dream and Alice Beach, who is also in this race. Third, just FYI, this looks to be a horse that's going to sit mid-pack, maybe try to get the lead, but can have the ability to sit mid-pack if needed. Another one that has some pretty good speed figures, undefeated, also coming in here. Let's see. Ran a 96 speed figure last time out in the Frizette grade 1 at Belmont at Aqueduct for Junior Alvarado and Wilmot. Another one that seems to be one that looks to be, again, getting set up for its 3-year-old season. The big question was on a sloppy track going a mile last time out. So interesting to see what this horse is going to do with that extra distance. It's first time trying this extra distance. So kind of a question mark for just FYI here. Probably the reason that the horse is 8-1. And our long shot, we're going with number 11, Life Talk. Todd Pletcher, Arad Ortiz, Rapoli Stables. This daughter out of Gunrunner. Big purchase price at the Keeneland September in 2022 for $335. Ran 3rd to just FYI in that Frizzet after breaking her maiden at Saratoga. So the horse does have 2 miles under her track. That was on a sloppy surface. And was not necessarily the odds-on favorite, but was like the second choice in that last race. So I think 20-1, we are not going to get 20-1 on an Irad Pletcher horse all weekend if we do take the money, because here's a good chance for this horse to be in the money come time for the wire. Looks to be a horse that's going to sit off the pace quite a bit. If you look in that last race, again, it was slop. Did not have much. The big key on the comment was that the horse ran on. So going an extra distance here, I believe we're going a mile and a 16th. Hopefully should have a clean trip. Obviously the track's not going to be sloppy. So interesting. Life Talk 20-1. Todd Pletcher, Irad Ortiz seems to be a pretty good money bet. Again, another deep field We have Chitalis in here, who's probably going to be the early speed. We have Brightwork, a horse that looked like to have a bright future, and then kind of falls flat in the Alcibiada. So see if they can turn things around. And then big price in here, Alice Beach. Never know. Finished third in that Alcibiada, behind Candide and VV's Dream. So another good race for these juveniles. Here we go with race 7, a mile on the turf, for these 2-year-old fillies. Another really fantastic field in here. Our top pick, we talked about this horse just a few minutes ago in Porta Fortuna, with Donaka O'Brien and Oyson Murphy, owned by Reeves Thoroughbred. This one is another one out of Scat Davy and Caravaggio, European bred horse coming in out of the past race of Newmarket, winner of that Grade 1 Juvenile Chevrolet. This was the horse that beat, I believe it was Big Evs or one of those other early on European shippers in that sprint. So going on the stretch out, this horse looks to be going a little bit further. So interesting there. Probably why the horse is 5-1 and not a little bit heavier favorite coming in, because as you can see, the horse really hasn't done anything wrong. A first, third, second, and 2 wins, or 3 wins, as the horse kind of kicked off its 2-year-old campaign. So interesting that the horse will be stretching out. Looks to have some good speed. If you look at the numbers on these 6 furlong, 7 furlong races, look to be comparable or a little bit faster than some of the American contingents that could be running, if you kind of base things off of their time. Second, going with a little bit bigger price in here for our second choice, and Austere for Brendan Walsh, Tyler Gaffleone. Both had a really good Keeneland meet and look to kind of pick things up here. Just kind of going to take a stab with this one. A very light raced horse coming from, I believe, Kentucky Downs. In that mile juvenile fillies, won that, broke its maiden at Ellis Park, going a mile and a 16th. The horse has been training at Turfway Park, so that's kind of been a betting angle. Any horse that's kind of training at Turfway, shipping into turf races, has had some success. So we're going to stick with our numbers, stick with kind of what's been working. However, the horse, if on paper, it looks firmly out of depth. But there's a reason that this horse is here all the way across the states. Third, 12, hard to justify. Kind of going away from our European shippers in this race. I know I said they were kind of tough to beat on the mile surface, but here going with the Chad Brown Flavion Pratt connection for Weiss Racing, another justify daughter, again with that Scat Daddy on top. Comes out of that Mescarello Grade 2 stakes race, posting a 91 speed figure that is one of the higher speed figures of the field or of the class. Posted a pretty good workout at Belmont. It only ran 4 furlongs, so that's kind of take what you want, even though this is a mile race. Definitely one of the big numbers that you kind of see here is this 29% trainer, second time off the layoff. So it does come off a pretty, not necessarily big second time layoff. I mean, it raced July 23rd, I believe, broke its maiden, comes back October 4th, and then it's going to turn around and race November 4th. So interesting to see what this one does. Third start in here, undefeated for Chad Brown. And the long shot, Content. We're going to use that Aiden O'Brien and Ryan Moore connection again. Winner of the Staffordson Stud Stakes, a Grade 3 stakes race in Ireland. Probably doesn't have much of a class contingent as some of these others. But when it's a mile and it's on the turf, Europeans usually have some like weird magic. So definitely going to be using this one. You can look inside of Loni. Also another one that's coming out of a pretty good race for another European shipper. Obviously the connections here are kind of what's checkboxing that of the Aiden O'Brien and Ryan Moore. So another good race set up. Turf races seem to be the ones that are going to be the most challenging, but that's where you're going to find your prices. Race 8, we have the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So yes, this is the race for Kentucky Derby points, I guess, if you want to call it Kentucky Derby points. It sets up the horse to kind of be favorited or talked about for the Kentucky Derby. Going a mile and a 16th for these 2-year-old colts. So let's dive in. Top pick locked right now. Looks to be a lock for the Kentucky Derby unless something in here says otherwise. Comes out of that Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland, winner of that race. Going a mile and a 16th on that fast Keeneland dirt back on October 7th. Beat out the Wine Steward, and I think that was about it from these contingents in here. 95 speed figures, so kind of sticking in that 90 95 range or 100 range. Since breaking its maiden at Saratoga, that's where the horse really kind of wowed folks when it posted that 105 speed figure. Um, so definitely one that is got a lot of buzz right now. It has Jose Ortiz aboard for Todd Pletcher and Walmack Farm and Eclipse Thoroughbreds. This one is out of Gunrunner, and Candy Ride was a big $425,000 purchase. Looks to be a horse that's has a little bit of different tactical options. If you look at its maiden, kind of set just off the pace in second, and then was able to break out in a 3-path and drove away. Go look at the Breeders' Futurity. The horse kind of broke dead last and was able to rally, went 4 wide into the turn, and again drove away. So interesting what we're going to see. I think the horse only won by like a length and a half or a half a length over the Wine Steward. So interesting to see what this extra or this distance again will be able to do. Hopefully the horse doesn't get buried coming out of the gate like it did. Next, we're going to try with Timberlake in here. Could have 3 wins in a row coming out of that hopeful, that grade 1 hopeful, going 7 furlongs, was beat out by Nutella Fella, again by a length and a half in there, finishing second. Comes right back into the Champagne, wins that one, posting the career best 102 speed figure. This one is Brad Cox trained. Florent Giroux, Windstar Farms owns another Into Mischief horse here for $350,000. Post some pretty good workouts on the Churchill Downs surface. Going a little bit extra distance last time, ran a mile on that sloppy Belmont or Aqueduct track. So interesting. This one should get a better trip in here and definitely has the speed to run. Third, we're going to use the Prince of Monaco, Bob Avertrain, Flavion Pratt, undefeated 2-year-old coming in here, winner of the Best Pal Grade 3 and the Del Mar Futurity, 102 and 95 speed figure. However, it is stretching out from that 6-7 furlongs, but it's kind of building up to the mile. So obviously we're going to see this horse probably be able to get the distance out of Speightstown. Huge $950,000 purchase on this one. And again, like most Baffert horses, are going to be sitting the lead or just off the pace. However, Bob Baffert is still banned or whatever from the Kentucky Derby, so this horse possibly not a Kentucky Derby contingent. And long shot, not much of a price. The Wine Steward with Louis Saez and Mike Maker. I kind of like how the horse finished. In that Breeders' Security 2 locked, kind of dug in on the rail in that race. And like I said, finished a half length beaten, did run that mile and a 16, so still sticking with that distance in here. Before getting beat by Lock, the horse was undefeated, coming out of a stakes race at Saratoga and Ellis Park. And then comes in there and like I said, gets beat by a half before. I mean, it's a half length shy of being 4 for 4 and undefeated. Again, another one training at Turfway Park, which here we're on the dirt, so it's kind of a little bit different from the turf side. But posted a pretty good workout October 28th before shipping out to Santa Anita. So kind of a long shot play. Hopefully some of these other ones take some money and Wine Steward can get up to double digits. Another one to consider, Muth. Muth for Juan Hernandez, Bob Baffert. Um, so far, 3-2. Winner of the American Pharaoh and $61,000 maiden was beat out by Prince of Monaco in that best pal, but probably going to leave this one off our ticket unless something crazy or pace is set up the way it is, or if we see a little bit of speed bias, rail bias, we may switch things up with Muth. And the finale, race 5 or race 9, going a mile on the turf for these 2-year-old colts, and kind of in the day with the Euro River Tiber, Ryan Moore, Aiden O'Brien. Looks to be a really good horse that has shipped in here for these two contingents. Coming out of Newmarket from the Judemont Middle Park Stakes, a grade 1 stakes race that gets a high race rating in these last two races. The horse has finished third in both of those, beat out by a horse named Van Dijk. So that horse obviously is not in here. So this kind of sets up for River Tiber a little bit better. The pedigree of this horse looks to be built for miles on the turf, like most of Aiden O'Brien horses are. If you go back, the horse was 3 for 3, undefeated coming in until it ran into the likes of this Vadik horse. So interesting to see what this one will be able to do in here, and it will get a stretch out going a mile from the 6 furlongs that the horse has been running. Next, we have Endlessly. This is kind of a home red horse here for Juan Hernandez and Mike McCarthy. The horse comes in undefeated, winner of the Del Mar Juvenile Turf Grade 3 Stakes race and the Zuma Beach or Zuma Beach Grade 3 Stakes race at Santa Anita. So it has the familiarity with the Santa Anita Turf, going a mile as well on the firm side of things, and like I said, has won all 3. So interesting what this one be able to do. Has posted some really good workouts since the horse has been kind of training pointing towards this race. Obviously has the highest or higher speed figure of the other American contingents in here, and definitely the jockey trainer stats are a plus for this horse with Juan Hernandez and Mike McCarthy. Third, we're going to use a Gate Road with Irad Ortiz and Todd Pletcher. Coming out of that grade 2 Pilgrim at Belmont at Aqueduct. Posted a career best speed figure of 80, so definitely a horse that's going to improve off that 80, I do believe. Again, there's a reason that the horse has shipped over here, or not really shipped over here, but has came across the states to be ran at Santa Anita. Broke its maiden at Saratoga. So we see a lot of horses breaking their maiden at Saratoga going on to win their next race. So now let's see what they can do after that. Keep going forward. Let's see if these Saratoga graduates, maiden breakers, can keep things moving. Like the connections here, another one for Rapoli Stables with Todd and Irad. The Quality Road sire is interesting. I think this is like a $650,000 purchase for the Rapoli Stables. I think it's teamed up with St. Elias Stables. But definitely one that seems to be improving, getting better with each start. So definitely one that's going to have to improve again. But like I said, a lot of these other horses are going to take money. I like the price right now on a Gate Road at 8-1, and it'll probably be a little bit higher come post time. And our long shot pick, not really long shot, is 6-1. Carson's Run, Christophe Clement, Dylan Davis. Grade 1 summer at Woodbine. We're going a mile on what was good turf listed. With Dylan Davis aboard, Carson's Run was able to pick up its first grade 1 win, first graded stakes win. Another 88 speed figure that seems to be one that's getting better. If you look back at some of the other starts, ran a mile and a 16th. First time out in its maiden, broke his maiden going a mile and 16th. Comes back to this 1 mile turf at Woodbine at the summer grade 1 stakes and picks up a win. 88 speed figure. Did it from coming off the pace, way off the pace. Absolutely did last way off the pace. So watch this one being flying late. If we can get a hot pace for it to run into, should set up pretty good for Carson's Run. I know we didn't give you guys a big price in there. Can Group, I think, was the other one that we said was 12-1. That's kind of decent. Winner last time out in the Bourbon, grade 2 at Keeneland. Does kind of get a little bit shorter distance, going a mile and 16 to a mile. So one to watch on some of the odds there. I just feel like this one is a really good race, but a lot of these horses are going to be bet accordingly. So there's our picks for Friday Juvenile, the baby races of the 2-year-olds on the dirt and the turf. So make sure to comment down below your best bet for Friday. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, so you get all of our Breeders' Cup action, as we are going to be diving into the big Saturday Breeders' Cup card and handicapping each one of those races, along with giving you our big pick 5 ticket for the Breeders' Cup Classic. We thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.